Hi you guys, and welcome back. I wanted to take some time and show you guys some of the features that I really like on this 1967 bus. When it comes to campers, I think in the so42 Volkswagen had really kind of figured out a few things that were pretty good, and I thought maybe if you guys are looking at campers, maybe this will give you some ideas on them, and some of the things also on the 67 that are kind of neat and different. And I really like the 67. I can't keep them all, but it would be one that I would definitely consider keeping if I could. I can't keep them all again, so some of the stuff that's kind of unique on the 67. If you have a original SO42, it would have this cabinet that goes all the way up right here. However, especially on a walkthrough model, the bed ends up being pretty small. So your bed is only as wide as this is, and then you have the spare tire in the back, and it just kind of makes it a kind of a cramped little area to sleep in. So what I did on this is I put in, basically, I think this is almost a whole full-size bed, and so you can pull it all the way out like this, and in fact you could take that and slide that over and move the spare if you really wanted to be comfortable, and you'd have a complete full-size bed. So I think that's a little more useful than the closet that was right here. I think that was designed in the 60s and 70s for people that wore suits, and nobody does that anymore. If you look at old photos, people always had suits on in the 60s, and I don't know if that transferred into some of the 70s years, but 50s and 60s people wore suits. So I think they had a closet so you could hang one up in there, and kind of a dated old thing, so not really necessary for today. The thing that's really nice about this one versus my SO23 is the table folds down, so it's easier to put like your bike in here or something like that if you're going to take it with you. That's really nice, and you can fold it up, you can fold it back down, have a little more space to do some things. So the table folds up pretty easily. You still have the space of the cabinet here to store things. You still have this cabinet underneath here for storage, so it's pretty good size storage compartments. You can put your stove in that one because it's a nice big door. So it's got a lot of good layout in it versus some of the other years. Like if you look at the SO34 and the SO23, the table almost always stays up and then it folds down into a bed, so the table's kind of always in your way. You can fold it up and then you can strap it up here to the ceiling. There's like a little snap thing that goes down and it goes up, but it really was kind of in the way, where on this year they kind of made it so that you could get, you can just get things in and out of here a lot easier. Now, one of the things that's missing on this, if you notice, it doesn't have the sink and the ice block fridge. One of the reasons is ice blocks are not as readily available as they used to be back in the old days. Yeah, I mean, you can still get ice blocks, but it's not very readily available. You're not going to go just anywhere and find one. You're going to probably have to look for it, and it's a little harder to use. So what not having that there gives you the space to put your cooler right here. So you could even put a vintage cooler right here, and then you can move that out of the way so that when you put your bed out, the bed comes out to like right here, right? If you had that thing there, you wouldn't really have much room to get in and out of your bed. It'd be kind of tight, so not having that there was a suggestion from OC Westy And he said, no, you don't really want that, because it's like the same thing. It's the sink is kind of useless. It's almost easier to use a basin, and just carry a little basin you put in there and use that to wash your dishes, and that's it. In the cabinet, there's no cabinet space in there because it's a fridge, unlike the so43 where it has cabinet space in there for your your silverware and all that sort of thing. I think that was kind of useful there. What they have on this instead is they have the spice rack to put some of those items in. Maybe you could get your silverware and stuff in one of these compartments, and a few canned goods and whatever. And it does have this, so I guess maybe you could put your silverware in there, that sort of thing. So it has that spice rack instead that's a little more useful than the earlier ones were. Now on the 67, the stock gear ratios enable you to go 60 to 65 with tall tires. Really, with the stock tires, they said they could do 60 to 65 cruising speed and 70. Your RPMs are way up in the stratosphere doing that. You're probably going to burn your engine up. So you go with the 205, 75, 14s stock gear ratios, and it kind of is okay going up to about 65. I found 60 is a real nice cruising speed and not too hard on the engine. I've even cruised it for 10 miles or so at 70, and it seemed to do okay at that. But again, like I said, if I was going to go like 100 miles at 70 miles an hour, I think it'd be pretty hard on the engine. Now on this one, I put a 1776 in here with single port and a cam. It really does make it drive a lot better. The other thing that's really cool on the 67s, maybe you don't know, they had an extra gallon in the gas can. So I think it's 10 or 10 and a half gallons. That's funny. I put 11 in my other bus, and I said, man, there's no way that I put 11 gallons in it. So I called the weights and measures guy, and it measured out right. I put 11 gallons in that thing. So anyway, it's possible that it could take more than that, but in this one here, it has an extra gallon. So it has a little hump on the top of the gas tank at 67 only, if you can see that, and that little hump gives you that extra gas. And I was able to get the gas gauge to work right, if you're wondering. Another thing that's nice is the 67 does have backup lights, so it's a little easier to backing these things up can be a chore. I don't think I've got them working yet. I think it just needs a new switch, and I haven't done it yet. So, but you know, it's kind of a nice feature to have backup lights in your 67. So another one of the things that's kind of neat in these, and you know, I never really liked the look of them, but these jealousy windows, you think they kind of look like they'd be kind of ugly and rattly, and yeah, they do make a little noise going down the road, but there is something really cool about them. When you're camping, you can have the ability to have your windows open and have screens to protect you from the mosquitoes. So, and have airflow at the same time on a hot night. In this one, I also put the 1-inch insulation in, so it should help with the heat, extreme heat and extreme cold. So it's been upgraded from the original as well. The original just had some, I don't know, that almost like a batting insulation. I don't know what it's called. Another thing I like is, again, the walkthrough is really handy for your boondock camping, or if you show up and it's raining and it's just you or you and your spouse or whatever, you can climb to the back without having to get outside and throw down your bed, set it up, wait for the next day for the rain to pass you. It's kind of cool to have that, especially for camping. Like if you were just having a regular bus, it'd be kind of nice too, but camping, it's really kind of nice, extra nice. Another unique feature of the 66 and 7 is they had pointed bumpers. That's a pointed bumper, and it's original, which is cool. This one's actually a pointed bumper, which is pretty rare that it has original bumpers still. 67, you didn't need a church key to open anything. so some of you guys end up losing them. The 67's got the gas door that goes open with your thumb. Kind of a nice features. Still has a split window, which was kind of cool. Another thing that's nice, and a lot of people go, hey, I really want the pop top because it was the deluxe so42. This is an so42. But the deluxe, the problem with it is it's not going to fit in a lot of your garages. I'm not sure. Maybe it would. I've never tried, but like maybe if you hold this up all the way, it'd go in, but I don't know, maybe you guys can comment on that. But this one would definitely fit inside someone's garage, so it could be garage kept, which would make the bus last longer. So that was another cool feature that they had on these so42 tin top Westies. Some other unique features on the 67 were that it had the 1-year only knobs, which I don't know if I like that or not, but you know, it is kind of nice. All that stuff works on this one. I was able to get everything to work. Emergency lights, blinkers, all that, everything works pretty well. And the other thing that they did, I don't know if anybody really knows, but they actually, I believe, I'm not sure, this one doesn't feel like it, but they changed the shifter position in 66 and 7 and made it a little bit closer to the driver. This one's been changed, but you know, it's still pretty easy to shift and drive without having to lean forward and lean back and lean forward. On your early buses, you'll find yourself almost busting your knuckles up in here. So it's really, a lot of guys want to put that extension with a little S extension with the shifter in the back. On this year, you really don't need that. So it's really kind of out of the box. They kind of figured out a few things. It was just subtle things that they changed. They went to also this different dash with the radio blank. Original uncut on this one was pretty nice. So I was really fortunate to get it with that. In 66 and 67, they figured out that using that handle was pretty hard on that handle to close the door. A lot of those ended up getting broken. People, what I always did with my older buses is I always just open the window, pull the door shut, slide the window back. But in 66 and 7, they had these handles, and of course the ones that came on here were plastic, and I just always upgrade them to the aluminum. Either these ones are homemade, but the other ones they have these ones with little ribs on them. They're pretty nice. I forget what that company is who sells those. I have those on my other bus, but these are pretty cool. And the flipper, you know, unlike the door handle, was almost kind of easy to bump it and knock your door open. And this thing's a little smaller, so it's a little easier to not do that. So one of the things I did on this, I don't know what was dividing between, originally they had like painted up in the front and then wood to the back, and I kind of like that look because it gives you the separation of the cabin to the back. And I put in aluminum strips on there to kind of make it spruced up a little. I don't know what was originally there. This one I put in the headbanger cabinet too, which is kind of nice. Throw a few items up there, you know, a few of your clothing items, or even stuff your sleeping bag up in there if you wanted to, so you can pull it down. Some people say, you know, again, this cabinet in having the ice chest here, so like if you didn't have that and you had to bring an ice chest with you, you'd have that in your way. You'd have to put a bike in here if you want to bring a bike with you or something, or you could use a roof rack. It just depends on how you like to do things. Personally, I don't like the roof racks because then you don't fit it in the garage. You have to take it on and off. It's a pain. So if you have, for instance, if you wanted to carry a ice chest, it'd be kind of hard to do. You'd have to finagle this around a bit. I also made for this one a mat that someone could put outside and shake off and maybe wipe your feet off before you go in. A lot of times you're in the sand or something like that, you end up all the dirt inside your vehicle. This also is held in with Velcro, and you can just take it out and shake it. Yeah, anyway, I wanted to explain a couple things about the 67 that are kind of neat, and at the same time maybe give you guys who are looking at building a camper some ideas on how to design it. And again, you can have OC Westy make these cabinets. You know, everything's made with finished grade plywood. You see all the plies on that? That's all like not cheap stuff. It's not cheap to make cabinets that way. So if you look at here, you know, finished grade plywood, this is what's it called, Formica. I mean, just to make that cabinet right there is not cheap to do with materials. Same thing they do on these. They made them all with finished grade, and then they put the Formica on them. So the materials just to do that are, I mean, pretty expensive. Over $1,000, I believe, just for the wood to build those, to build this, that, and that up there, probably in that range, just for materials. So, and then time on top of that. I think they do a really good job, pretty inexpensive. So anyway, and that's for, you know, handles, the hardware, all that stuff. So if you can imagine, like this hinge right here, stuff's, you add up all that stainless steel hinge and everything, the way they do it, it's pretty good, excellent job they do. This material here for these, if you wondered, I just found this on the internet. I started looking around at buffalo plaid, and that's the type of plaid it is. And I found this stuff that looks very similar to the original. I think the original had a little bit of blue in it or something, and this doesn't, but it's pretty nice. It looks good, so I like it. This is some cord, and then I got these. I forget where I got these. These are from trying to think. I got these off of Amazon. It's just a bungee, okay, 1/8-inch bungee. And then these are, I think, I forget what they're called, but they're for bungee. Okay. Anyway, you could maybe find those aluminum things, and you just crimp them and then put your bungee inside there. Pretty neat looking. I don't know, I think this year they had the springs, but you can buy spring stock too if you want to do that, but this works pretty good. It's the problem with the bungee is over time it starts to get sloppy and doesn't work very good. These are just girls' hair things I got on the internet somewhere, and it kind of keeps your curtains from going shut on you when you're driving. It's really hard to see out of the mirrors in these, so using these mirrors is a little nicer, but one of the problems is position of this mirror. If you look right here and you face to the driver, you can see that this post is really in the way. So that's why they had commercial mirrors in Germany. If you look at the position of the commercial mirror, it's back just a little more, so it's easier to see out of it. Another thing that I found really interesting on the 67 that I figured that I would mention in this video as well is the dual reservoir master. Even though it still isn't riding on drum brakes, that is a huge improvement in stopping power. I don't know why, but it certainly stops way better than the 166 with a single reservoir master. The dual reservoir master does work better. It's still nothing compared to disc brakes. Disc brakes are really a great upgrade. You know, I would encourage someone, you know, the disc brake kit comes with a dual reservoir master, so I would encourage somebody to put disc brakes in their bus. But if you didn't have the money, the dual reservoir master does improve it a lot. It makes it a lot better. The stopping power is better. But it still can fade, and you don't have the control that you have quite with disc brakes. So, because disc brakes are basically better leverage. It's not the cooling of them. People think it's cooling, but it's because, for instance, your master cylinder has a 19 millimeter thing on it, you know, a piston, and you got 30 millimeters or more at the wheel. so that gives you leverage. So when you push your hydraulic, if you kind of, that's like putting a big pry bar on your brake pedal, and it gives you all that leverage to stop and gives you better control. That's why disc brakes are much better than drum brakes, even though they have more material to stop the vehicle. It's that hydraulic leverage that gives you the stopping power with disc brakes. So anyway, you can incorporate some of those ideas into your earlier model bus. Adding a gas gauge, I did to mine. I actually took on my 60. Oh, mine has a wider, I guess there's more vents, so they moved the radio over in 67. I didn't even realize that till I looked at this, because my other one, the radios are smaller, and I have a couple of vents over here, and I can look through those vents, and I have a gas gauge hidden behind there that illuminates when I turn the key on, so I can see the gas gauge behind there, because it didn't have a hole and I didn't want to drill one in the dash. So you can add one by doing that. Well, anyway, I think I've got everything in here I wanted to cover, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I think it might be useful for you guys doing building campers, or if you're looking at buses and you just want to know what the difference was between a 66 and 7 and earlier models and stuff like that. Something that might be enticing if you saw a 67. I'd never owned a 67, and I really like the 67. I didn't think I would really like it that much, but after driving it and using it, I was like, man, there's all these little things, small things that make a big difference in the vehicle and the usefulness of it. And just they kind of figured out a few things that really make it a lot more comfortable. So if for some reason I don't sell this, I might even sell my older one, but I really like this bus. It's really a neat bus, and it's really gonna be great for someone. Again, I can't keep them all. This one's gonna have to go. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Oh, by the way, I am waiting for the table, is why I haven't got this bus up for sale yet. I'm waiting for one more table. There's actually a table that goes right here. You really need that. You need the table here to be able to put your stove on to make everything work out. You have your, if you can imagine, you have your cooler here, your stove up there, your spice rack with other things in it. It's all right here. So it makes sense. Anyway, I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.